Rents are falling. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I thought we'd have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance, which is asking the question if you're paying too much rent. Now, we've seen in a previous video earlier today where the New South Wales Treasurer is pushing for a reduction in land tax, essentially tax discounts for developers to encourage more development for renters. Why, it could even give opportunity for foreigners to come in, buy property, and rent it out to Australians. Isn't that fantastic, guys? Isn't that what we want to see? Isn't it sad that we can't even continue doing the game that we're good at, propping up housing? So let's have a look here, because there's been a lot of discussion about rents falling. Yeah, some even claim that agents are heroes for dealing with negotiation. But let's look at just the rental market and the median rental value for houses and units. This is from the Property Council data room. This data is from the 30th of April, so it's a bit dated but still useful. And the highest house rent in the country is in Canberra, highest median, $580 a week. Then Sydney, $550. Darwin at $480. I'm constantly surprised at Darwin being so high. Hobart at $470. The average is $457. Melbourne is at $430. And Brisbane is at $420. Now, I think we had a little two-bedroom place on Wellington Road, across the road from Finlayson's. 6 lanes of traffic, two-bedroom little Queenslander. We were paying, what, $405 6 years ago? So we were probably paying above average. We thought it was pretty good. That's probably because we'd converted the entry into a bedroom for us, rented out the master bedroom, rented out the other room, and converted the living room to an office. So I think the real estate agent turned a blind eye to us because we were there for a while. And you can see Adelaide is at $385, Perth is at $380. If we look at unit rents, Sydney, $530. Then you have Canberra, $480. The weighted average is $457. Melbourne, $435. Hobart, $410. I mean, Hobart property prices, as we can see here, have definitely grown, definitely inflated, guys. Brisbane at $390, Darwin at $360, Perth at $350, and then good old Adelaide at $330. So, and there's more and more talk about it becoming a renter's market. Tenants tenants have an advantage. Many people we're hearing in the comments are even negotiating reduced rents, saving money, putting money aside, which is smart to do. So let's have a look at this here. But you have to question how, if we're going to start seeing the property price values materialize or be affected by these declining rents, all these investments that you negative gear one after the other. I guess making a greater loss is a greater advantage to negative gearing, isn't it? It could actually put the prices up of these investments. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? I mean, we're in a clown world, guys. Anything can happen. So renters in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Hobart, Darwin and Canberra are paying less for their bills compared to 3 months ago as the pandemic makes a dent on the rental market, new data has revealed. According to fresh CoreLogic figures, the median rent in Sydney fell to $568. And that's compared to, we'll have a look here. What was I just looking at before? Sydney was $550. So, okay. How's that a fall? If right now I'm saying the average house rent is $550 and they're saying it fell to $568. That doesn't look like a fall to me, does it? Maybe they're talking about units. Nope. Maybe CoreLogic is using different data to the Property Council of Australia. It's interesting. Because this data from CoreLogic is from April. So how can it fall up? Can someone explain to me? Must just be different data. Over the June, and people are trusting all this like it's gospel, guys. They're trusting all this stuff like it's gospel. How many people will dig? How many people will find conflicting data? How many people just blindly trust the unemployment figures from the ABS? Well, I used to. I didn't realize there were alternatives until you start reading and digging and questioning. So, anyway, over the June quarter, down from it fell to, down from $574 in the March quarter. Okay. Melbourne renters are paying $5 less, with rents from $458 to $453. And what do they say here? There we go, 435. This is units, houses. Melbourne, 430. Okay, different data. Brisbaneites, Darwinians, Canberrans have also been paying slightly less for rent over the last 3 months. But Hobart, once Australia's property darling, saw the greatest fall of all, with median rents falling from 470 to 454. During the month of June, rent prices fell by 0.3% across the nation and 0.5% across the quarter, a drop that hasn't been seen since September 2018. So regardless of the differences in the data that we're looking at, from the CoreLogic data presented here to the Property Council data on the other page, we're seeing falls. So they're both saying that it's falling. Now, how can this not manifest itself in the valuation of these properties? How can it not? How it will affect the yield of these properties. It'll affect the yield of these properties. It has to materialize in the valuation of it. So we can see the median rent here. Everything's down 0.3%, except for Adelaide, up on the month, Perth up on the month, Darwin up on the month, and the combined regionals are up on the month. The cities are down. Sydney is only beat by Hobart at 0.9. Sydney's still doing pretty bad. Capital cities saw a greater fall in rent prices than regional cities. Capital city rents fell by 0.7% across the June quarter, whereas rents in regional Australia actually rose by 0.2%. So are we starting to see the green shift? Are people going regional here in Australia, like it's starting to happen in the US? Perhaps. So the pandemic brings down rent prices. According to CoreLogic head of research, Eliza Owen, rental rates have copped a beating from the reduction in migrants and the magnitude of job losses. Prior to the June quarter, momentum activity actually being building behind rent growth due to less investor activity and few new renters, Owen said. Tighter lending conditions in 2018 also saw rent prices tick up. However, the pandemic environment shifted this trajectory. Closed international borders created a significant shock to rental demand, as historically the majority of new migrants to Australia have been renters, Owen said. Furthermore, job losses in sectors such as hospitality, tourism and the arts, which ABS payroll data estimates have been around 20%, have also impacted demand because households in these sectors are more likely to rent than in other industries. So it's a win for big city dwellers, rents to keep falling. So if you're a renter, are you getting an advantage of this? Share it. Let us know in the comments, guys. Let us know your discounts or deals or what you've done to save money, because it's always encouraging, and it may be just someone is perusing by, reads it and gets, that's enough to give them the impetus or encouragement to go out there and try and fight for a discount and to get one. It could be enough to change their life. And then they have that little bit extra money, then they pay off that debt. And then it just grows from there. I could make a whole story about that, The varied differences in rent prices demonstrate the varied degrees of lockdown across the different capital cities. Owen told Yahoo Finance she expected property prices to continue to slide, especially in Australia's biggest cities. There you go. Remember, this seems to be a very different tune to what was being said last year. How people going, no, property's fine, property always goes up. What are you talking about? Now everyone is saying property will go down. The mood's changed, hasn't it? Sydney and Melbourne are the most likely to see rents continue to fall for the rest of the year. The decline in rents has been exacerbated in these markets, where there has historically been a high exposure to rental demand, in particular from net overseas migration, she said. For instance, overseas migration saw demand for roughly 6,900 additional rental properties in Melbourne's inner region across 2019. It'd be nicer in a ring. I'm imagining a ring around the city. So the lack of overseas arrivals is having an enormous demand shock on these markets in particular. It's a similar story for markets like inner city Sydney and Parramatta, said Owens. I wonder if the flood of short-term rentals is also going to impact these rentals. All the Airbnbs hitting the market. More competition. So this is another reason when people are getting the FOMO thinking, should I buy? guys, it makes sense to wait a little bit longer and see what's going to happen to make sure your economic position is secured, your job's secured. Because rents are going down. Rents are going down. Buying a house is not, it's the whole rent money's dead money. Rates are dead money. Repairs are dead money. Having to buy paint remover to strip off lead paint and rebuild walls is dead money. That may be a little specific, but that is, well, it's not really dead money. It's improving the property. But still, I'm kind of, with my property, I'm catching up to the bank's imaginary valuation. I'm not really adding any value to it. The second lockdown in Melbourne also means more income job losses across the food, accommodation, arts and recreation services sectors. And this may create a particular sharp decline in Melbourne rent prices over the next few months, she added. For some of these markets, particularly desirable inner city markets, the fall in rent values may draw in demand from suburbs further from the city centre. Really? I was talking to a friend. He was a doctor working in Melbourne, and he's ended up in Wagga before he's coming back up to Queensland if he can get up. And he's really happy they got out of Melbourne just before all of this happened. All of the issues happened. This means the decline in rent values may become more broad-based as the fall in demand ripples across Sydney and Melbourne. Okay, so we're going to see maybe some people jump in a city, upgrade, and then rents will hit everywhere else. Meanwhile, the fall in Brisbane and Hobart rents will ease up as interstate travel picks up. Well, I think the Queensland border's just been closed, so we may not see that happen. The inability of Australians to travel overseas is likely to see a flourish of domestic tourism, renewed demand for Airbnb stays, and thus a tightening in the long-term rental market. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if that occurs. I suspect it may not. I mean, Sydney's now been closed from Queensland. It's a soft closure, but it still has. That will be enough to affect some people's holidays decisions. Hobart hit hardest. Of all capital cities, Hobart has seen the greatest drop in rent prices. This was the most severe quarterly decline in rent values for the capital city since September 2012, when rents declined 2.4% over the back of weak economic growth and a spike in unemployment, Owen said. Hobart's workforce comprises of more workers from the accommodation, food, arts and recreation service sectors than other capital cities, so higher rates of job losses are likely to contribute to lower rents. The city's volume of Airbnbs also saw many of those properties converted to long-term rentals. If you're paying too much in rent, you're within your rights to negotiate the rate down. Well, you can. It's the market, guys. However, rental prices will vary according to your local property market, so do your research about the average rental rate in your suburb and prepare a good justification for asking for a lower rate before speaking to your landlord. Even if your landlord refuses to bring down the rate, there are still some steps you can take, and rest assured, you can't be evicted without a notice to vacate from the state's tribunal. Your landlord isn't able to personally evict you. Now, here's the thing. What's that going to do to the valuation of these properties if you have a tenant that is refusing to pay rent or demands huge discounts and you can't get rid of them? We'll have to see. So here we have it, everyone. Rents are falling in all of the cities. Different data from different sources, but nonetheless, everyone is saying that we're heading for a fall. How is this going to affect the value of properties? Is it going to be encouraging people to invest? As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, have a great day. I'll see you all in the next episode.